All right, this is part 4. If you haven't seen part 1, 2, and 3, you might want to go to my profile and watch those first. If not, enjoy. So when we left off, we were almost at the end of part 6, and then we're moving into part 7, which has all types of, I think I said 9 parts to part 7. So I'm going to finish off here real quick with part 6 where we left off, and then we're going to jump into part 7. Part 7 will most likely take at least 2 videos, I would guess. Maybe not. We'll see. Here we go. Okay, part 6 where I left off. This is also why emotional charge matters. Not chaotic emotion, but focused emotion. When your heart floods the field with coherent feeling, joy, gratitude, love, it amplifies the wave. That charge pushes your resonance to the peak. Without it, the wave never fully ignites. With it, you hit maximum amplitude and manifestation locks in. In my framework, this is the resurrection ignition. It's the breath, the spark that powers the new cycle. Just like lightning doesn't gradually appear, but strikes in an instant, manifestation comes alive at peak resonance. So here's the takeaway. You don't need constant effort. You need buildup. You need coherence. And then you need that one moment where intention, resonance, geometry, and polarity all line up. When that happens, the wave ignites. The reality engine turns over. And what was once just a thought is now alive in the field. That is the ignition moment. That is peak resonance. Step 7, the paradox gate. When we reach this stage of manifestation, we enter what I call the paradox gate. This is the most mysterious, yet the most essential part of the entire process. The moment when the impossible becomes possible. Look at this picture behind me. At the center is a glowing wormhole, spiraling inward like a cosmic tunnel. Above it, the strange formula sine A cosine 2A equals 1. If you know math, that shouldn't make sense. Sine times cosine squared never equals 1. Never. It's a contradiction, and that's the point. This is the moment when manifestation transcends linear law. Everything up until now, resonance, proportion, geometry, symmetry, follows order. It's the language of logic. But if you've ever manifested something that defied all odds, you know there's always a leap, a jump that the rational mind cannot calculate. That leap is the paradox gate. The resonance you've built, the coherence you've generated, reaches a threshold. Logic says it can't go no further. The math says it's impossible. But reality doesn't stop there. In a higher dimension of the field, another equation is at work. That contradiction, that impossibility, opens the wormhole between the pattern you've been holding and a completely new pattern waiting to be born. It's like waking up to a locked door with the key that doesn't fit, only to have the door swing open anyway. You didn't force it, you resonated it open. Because at this level, resonance bypasses logic entirely. That's why the wormhole appears in the picture. The resonance collapses on one side and instantly reappears in another form on the other. What looked impossible becomes manifest. This is why faith has always been tied to manifestation, not blind belief. But the willingness to move beyond logic, to let paradox do the work that reason cannot. In my framework, this is the void paradox, the divine wormhole where one cycle collapses and another is born. Without this leap, manifestation stays bound by probability. With it, it crosses into the realm of the miraculous. So let me put it plainly. Manifestation doesn't always follow the rules you expect. Sometimes the universe bends them. Sometimes it breaks them. And when it does, you've stepped through the paradox gate, the wormhole of manifestation, the divine paradox itself. Now let's take it further from quantum to cosmic. When we talk about the paradox gate, people imagine a wormhole, a tunnel through space-time, but what is it really? It's the same phenomena you see at the center of galaxies. As you build resonance and intention, your field compresses into a singularity, just like a black hole at the galactic core. But black holes don't absorb, they radiate. They release photons, packets of light and intelligence, and in cosmic scale, that release is what we call a quasar. That quasar is the radiant starburst at the top of the toroidal field. It's the explosion side of the black hole, the outward expression of the same engine that swallows on the other side. That explosion upward is what creates projection itself. That's why it seems like something comes from nothing. Because on one side you have collapse, the void, the singularity, and on the other, an explosion of light. That explosion, the photon release, paints itself across the edge of the toroidal field. That edge becomes the projection screen of reality. Now multiply it. Combine millions of toroidal fields, atomic, biological, stellar, and you get density. And add harmonic templates, cymatic patterns, sacred geometry, and you get structured reality. Matter is just the interference pattern of countless toroidal fields stabilized in resonance. So the wormhole isn't some abstract portal. It's the mechanics of projection itself. It's the quasar effect, the toroidal engine flipping inside out. All consciousness, all matter, all galaxies form through the same cycle. Collapse, singularity, photon release, toroidal projection. That's why manifestation feels like magic. From the outside, something appears from nothing. From the inside, it's physics, the paradox gate in motion. Now let's look at the event horizon, because this is the boundary that defines the entire process. The event horizon is the edge of the toroidal field, the membrane where inward collapse meets outward projection. In a black hole, it's the point of no return. From outside, nothing escapes inward crossing, but from within, that same boundary is where photons release outward, the luminous halo of transformation. In a galaxy, that boundary is the radiant disk around the black hole's quasar jet, the visible ring of creation, otherwise known as flat Earth. In a living cell, the membrane does the same. It regulates what enters and what exits, what collapses inward as information and what projects outward as energy. Every toroidal field has this horizon. It's the interface between void and expression. So across all scales, from galaxies to cells to thoughts, the same sequence repeats. Collapse inward to singularity to release outward to photon emission to boundary to toroidal shell. That's why reality looks like something from nothing. The something is simply the projection painted across its own event horizon. And that brings us to the most sacred realization of all. Why we are the projector, the screen, and the awareness behind both. Before we came here, we had to have the thought, the original awareness that formed us into being. That awareness generated the singularity, the spark of intention that would become this experience. That means you're the consciousness that conceived the projection, the mechanism that expressed it, and the witness who experienced it. You are the observer, the observed, and the act of observation itself. And we will stop there and pick up here in part number 5. Hope you have a great night. Namaste.